summarize this video up front. This video reviews the differences between different types of sources used in political analysis, including peer-reviewed publications. In politics classes, you read material from a variety of places, including books, academic journals, mass market journals, think tanks, and news sources. When I went to school, the difference between these was really clear, in part because we read things in hard copy and they all just look really different. But it's much more difficult now, in part because you are consuming most information online, and in part because the lines between types of sources and readings have really blurred. In this video, I cover how to identify these sources more clearly online and note some of their special characteristics. Books remain one of the easiest formats to recognize. If you are reading a book online, you should be able to identify the title, author, and publisher. You should be able to find a table of contents that shows you the organization of the book. Academic journals in political science are usually published by professional associations or universities. They are unique in that they are subject to peer review. That means that when an author sends an article to the journal to be published, the editor of that journal sends the article to 3 experts on that issue and asks them to evaluate the quality of the work. Academic journals are supposed to have this higher standard than just having one editor review it, as you would for a book or a news article. This is meant to weed out fraud and poorly done research. These journals are also primarily written for an academic audience. This is university professors writing for other university professors. And while nothing is free of bias, academic journals do try to avoid it and publish articles that contribute to the scholarly understanding of and debate on an issue. So, how can you tell you're looking at an academic journal article? You can sometimes tell based on the title of the journal, the American Journal of Political Science or Journal of Politics, for example. But journal isn't always in the title. World Politics, for example, is a well-respected academic journal, but be careful because Foreign Affairs is a well-respected mass market journal. If you are searching within the library, their database will tell you if a source is peer-reviewed or not. You can often find them in academic databases like JSTOR, but not everything in these databases is an academic journal. And not everything in a peer-reviewed journal is empirical research. In the video for Monday, How to Read Academic Articles, I walk through what exactly empirical research articles look like and how to read them efficiently. In contrast to academic journals, what I'm calling mass market journals are written for a policy or a general audience. These articles tend to be shorter and more readable and may not cite their sources. For example, Foreign Affairs and Foreign Policy are 2 different mass market journals for international relations. They tend to offer more depth and analysis than a news article. But as with think tanks, which I'll get to in a moment, it's important to remember that these sites have several types of information on them. Both Foreign Affairs and Foreign Policies are actual physical magazines that you can get in print, but they also have a lot of online-only content produced just for the website. You actually have to cite these in different ways, but for now just remember that the authors of these articles are presenting their individual analysis and perspective. It is often extremely well informed, but they're not claiming to be unbiased. These sources are credible, but not scholarly. You will often also read from news media like the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, or The Economist. These are usually published daily or weekly, while journals are published monthly or quarterly, and they usually cover current events. As with all sources, it's important to remember that news sources produce a lot of types of content. Sometimes it's just straight news, where authors try to present unbiased facts on a current event. But sometimes news sources publish articles that are features or analysis that go into more depth and may or may not present facts from a particular perspective. Opinion pieces, like op-eds, are usually written by dedicated columnists or guest authors, not regular journalists, and they present that person's opinion. Credible news sources will have all their content reviewed by editors and fact-checkers and distinguish between the types of content that they provide, so you can tell an op-ed from a news story. In addition, if you're interested, Ad Fontes Media produces an interactive online chart you can use if you are interested in learning more about how and in which direction common media outlets are biased. The last type of source I want to talk about is think tanks. Think tanks are organizations that hire experts to produce a variety of content in order to shape public policy debate on an issue. They are meant to generate new ideas and contribute expertise. That expertise might come from academia, or it might come from extensive work on an issue. There are all types of think tanks. Some are centrist or have no real agenda, such as the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace or U.S. Institute of Peace. Some are just known for a bit of bias to the left or right, such as CSIS, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, which is center-right, or the Brookings Institute, which is center-left. The easiest way to identify this type of bias is to look at which type of former officials they hire as experts. Do they have Republicans, Democrats, or both? Other think tanks have an explicit agenda. The Heritage Foundation and Cato Institute are both well-known think tanks on the right, while the Center for American Progress fills a similar role on the left. Credible think tanks like this will be explicit about their perspective. If you click on About when looking at their website, Heritage will tell you that they seek to define conservative values, while Cato is explicitly libertarian and CAP progressive. Remember to look beyond just the first description, though. You can see that CAP describes itself as nonpartisan. This is true, they're not affiliated with a political party, but nonpartisan doesn't mean apolitical. Just because a think tank has an agenda doesn't mean they don't produce credible research. Just be aware of what the agenda behind this research is. And even when there isn't a specific agenda behind think tank content, it can still be representing the perspective of the author rather than an effort at unbiased analysis. You'll find lots of type of content on think tank websites, everything from blogs to analytical reports. Each of these has a different purpose, and you need to look closely at this material before you can know what to do with it. It is more likely that items listed as white papers or research are empirical research, while things categorized as analysis or commentary are not. But again, look carefully at the material to judge. Is the primary purpose of the paper to produce new research, or to make policy recommendations? The former may be empirical, the latter probably not. If you'd like more information on think tanks, or ideas on think tanks to look for, I recommend the University of Pennsylvania's Think Tank Index. It doesn't provide details on ideology, but it does rank think tanks based on their influence on policy. I hope this has been helpful in sorting through the different type of material that we use.